We haven't even started drinking yet today.
Oh, God.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Scrutiny with Cheri and Andy. I'm Andy Vargo, and this is my bestie,
Cheri Hardman. See, I don't like what.
I know, maybe it depends on which way, but on my screen, that was the right way. Anyway, how are you today, Cheri? We're going to talk about all things in the world with our own twist of scrutiny, by the way. Cheri, how are you?
Oh, I'm good. I took a nap. It was like I had an hour that I could carve out.
Oh, no, don't
for
do
that nap time.
Uh-huh.
I know, sorry. And so I did that. And then I'm like kind of laughing because I've got my curlers heated up and I don't have any makeup on yet.
Oh, you don't?
But here's the funny thing is that I'm doing that for a show that's live, and I've done nothing for a show that's going to be preserved forever on video, if that makes no sense.
But you know what? People here get to know the real us and see the behind the scenes, so it's kind of fitting.
That's true. You look good in you're on your new computer, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on my new
the color is so sharp. And
thanks. And I remember to turn my lights on today. That was, remember, like a couple episodes ago where it just got darker and darker, and pretty soon you're like, why are you in the dark?
Yeah, cool.
I do like that. I'm really digging this red and black combo. I've been wearing it actually the last couple of days. I have like 4 red shirts I just rotate through, so I need to remember to tell people that I am wearing clean clothes. I just have, but
well, I pick my clothes up off the floor quite often and put them on. So
I mean, I will cycle through them as much as I can before I wash them, but I do keep them clean. I tell you, yeah, anyway, I'll digress before I get into that till later. What do you got coming up? You got a show tonight? You got other stuff? You've been busy lately.
Yeah, pretty busy. I have a show tonight at a place called Olmsted. I think it's on Capitol Hill, somewhere in Seattle.
Nice.
And then Saturday and Sunday, I'm doing the Dope Show.
That's dope.
What about you?
That show. I don't have any shows coming up, but I would love to chat about the shows we just had on. We had a couple shows in a row on Saturday or Sunday and Monday.
We really did. Yeah, we did. So we should talk about that.
Yeah. So it started out with Love 'Em or Leave 'Em at Nate Jackson's Super Funny Comedy Club, which was a blast.
It was. Oh, wait. Oh, maybe I don't need it. I realized one of my lamps isn't on.
Oh.
But I look pretty.
You look good.
I know, but when the lights are really hot, it kind of blurs out some ugliness.
Oh.
I think I look fine, though.
I don't see any ugliness in you, Cheri.
Yeah, I was really nervous about, thank you. I was really nervous about Nate's because I just want, that was a lot of responsibility he handed me, and I did not want to disappoint him.
Well, first of all, he's just a great, super nice guy. He's got his own business going, so we don't want to let him down in all those ways, and he's a friend.
Right.
But there was also challenges because it was Super Bowl Sunday. Sunday night shows can be kind of tricky because sometimes people are, wrapping up their week. And so it was a little nerve-wracking, plus just being the first time you're doing anything in a venue that's new and different and not wanting to let them down. So I was just so thrilled with how that show went and how many people were there, and it was fun. It was great.
Yeah. So I'll feel a lot better next time. And we're doing a show there next month, and so the first one's always the worst as far as nerves, so that next one will be better. Except the next one, we are doing the game show.
Right, so that'll add another twist.
So that's going to add a little bit of pressure there, but it's a fun show. So
well, and that's in a good way. That's a challenging room for me. I'm getting used to because that stage has that kind of horseshoe where you have people. So I'm really trying to practice my presence, and I felt good about how I did with kind of making sure I looked at the whole room. but it does kind of add a different variable to, you can't just get comfortable standing in the same place on stage, because every room you go into could be different. So you kind of always need to have that in your mind.
I always worry there when like this show, because I stayed on my scooter, and you know, there have been times that my scooter has surged in speed unexpectedly.
Oh.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So there's this feeling of like, oh God, if I'm going to go plunging, or I'm worried that I'm going to go plunging over the edge. So there's that.
Yeah.
I think next time, well, no. Well, I don't know how I'm going to do it next time. But no, so I mean, that's a challenge, you know, but I like that. I like that stage.
One thing I noticed, and I didn't really notice as much until the video, but I noticed that the way your scooter was parked and you turned and were completely on the side, it acted just more like a stool. And I felt like that was a really great presence.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. So that was good. And then the next day,
Valentine's Day,
we did Roast Your Ex at Odd Otter.
Yes, always fun.
The biggest challenge there was fitting everybody in. Which
is such a great problem to have.
Fucking fantastic problem to have, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing was, there were like people showing up, and I was like, there's rooms up front, because we had, you know, had some open spots, and there were tables that, you know, were half full that people hadn't moved to, and I was like, no, there's spots you can buddy up, and we needed them, and so that was great, because it was like, and I was so annoyed with myself because I had gone up on the stairs and taken a picture of how full the room was, and that was before like 6 or 8 more people showed up, and I didn't even think to go back up and take a picture. So when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, I'm like, wait, no, those spots were full and those spots were full, so there was actually more people. I mean, it still shows a full room, because I think there were like 45 people there or something. I counted at one point. Yeah. It was awesome.
It was a good show. It went really well. I was really proud of us. The Roast Your Ex show does well every year.
Yeah. And all the comedians did excellent. You know, I had never met Lance or Julia from Portland, and just I love meeting new people and seeing them and hearing their different stories, and just seeing them do well and just entertain the crowd is just so much fun.
It's kind of nice, because you know, when you get when you're in a scene, you know, you hear the same people tell the same jokes all the time, because you're on the same shows. So it's kind of nice to bring some out of state people to, oh, I've never heard that before. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Loved it. So it was a great time.
It was.
Ready for the next thing. So yeah.
Now I'm excited because I have a 4-day weekend. So
that's fun. Oh yeah, it's President's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have gotten to a position now where I've way cut down my work at Otter, so I'm down to like 2 to 3 days a week there, which really opens up my ability to make TikTok videos. So
yeah,
that I thought I was gonna.
I've created a monster with you with this.
I've only made like 6 today, so now in fairness, I am seeing my therapist on Monday, so we'll talk about this. But I initially wanted to hit it hard at the beginning, because I wanted to fill up my profile and get like 20 videos right away. And I've been challenging myself to do different things and use different features on each video just to practice learning it, so that I can be familiar with it. And I do plan to slow down, unless like if it takes off, then that's what I'll keep doing. But I do plan to scale back and not necessarily open my phone every 4 minutes to see if I got another view on my TikTok views or my Facebook views where I post.
So how many videos do you have now?
I have 17 that I have made and shared, and I have another 6 more that I have made, because I've made some for marketing for Otter, and then so I think I have about 5 or 6 I've made for there. So, but on my page I have 17 public. In the last, like, I don't know what, 5 days.
Well, good for you. Since I've been watching you, it's kind of inspired me a little bit to just do one a day. Doesn't matter what it is, but just do one a day and try a few different things. Today, on today's video, I messed up a little bit. I kept singing too long before I gave up and did the other thing that I did.
Okay, I didn't see that yet. I'm gonna have to go watch it.
Yeah, don't give up too soon, because you're gonna want to like. The singing was not so good, let's just say, but what I did after that was kind of funny.
I watched your singing from
Yesterday or whatever it was.
My girl. That was awesome. That was cool.
That was all right. But yeah.
I did a workout duet today, just right before this, and so that
with who?
I had some really sexy guy that does workout. He had a shirt on. It's not like but he's done these where he like does push-ups but turns them into like jumping jacks, and so I was challenging myself to do that, and I kind of failed. But I'm really, one of the things that I'm challenging myself to do, because it's a lot of fun to do, so I'm trying to make sure that I continually work my brand into most of the videos, so that it's not just me doing something silly and goofy, but that I tie it back to Own Your Awkward. And you know, I'll still have some that have nothing to do with that, like the toothbrush one that right now has like, I think it's about 3,000 views with the toothbrush one, between the 3 different places I have it posted. And you know, that one doesn't have my marketing on it anywhere. It just is basically like saying I'm a hoe. It's just a funny thing. But so I'm doing some like that are just to, you know, to throw some comedy out there. But
yeah. So you were so resistant for so long that I'm actually really shocked that you started doing it. And you're really doing it. So that's cool. That's cool.
It's fun. It's a problem. It is a problem. So
yeah, so I'm going over to Spokane on Sunday.
Yeah.
To do the dope show, and it's supposed to snow.
Oh, snow can.
Yeah, so I'm going over with Mike Hansen and Naren band, and like we're gonna take my vehicle because it's the only one we could take because of my scooter. But it's not like all-wheel drive or anything preparing for snow.
Do you have chains for your scooter?
I'm not for my scooter. I did buy some for the car, but my husband's really kind of nervous about this. So
I do think though, if you are over there in this and there's snow even like behind you in the background, and even if like the sidewalk's cleared and you have your scooter there, I think that'd be a great chance to get a TikTok video of like them helping you out of the snow with your scooter. Anyway, watch for a chance. That's all I'm saying. Because you know, everything that comes up in my mind now is like, here's a TikTok idea. Here's a video idea.
Well, that's good though. I mean, TikTok or not, I mean, it's always good to be thinking of new ideas for stuff like that. So for promotional
videos, I've really not been envious like in a jealous way, but I've really been inspired the last several months by all the great videos that I see Ashley Gutermuth post that are just quirky little skit type videos. And Philip Kaczynski does a bunch of those.
Oh, does he? I haven't seen any of his.
He does a bunch of hilarious ones. So I've seen both of theirs between a lot of his I see on Instagram more than elsewhere, but between those two, I'm like, oh, these are just little quirky day in the life things. And you know, a lot of times with Ashley, it's her running and saying, oh, look at this, or I'm a military spouse and look at what this was like. And but they're all the kind of things that become the basis for our jokes, or sometimes are funny things that wouldn't necessarily work on stage, but are a funny part of our personality that people like to see. Kind of like just like your Cheri video with the Dollar Tree. You know, it's like it's showing how your mindset works throughout your day. That's not something you could throw up into a joke on stage that your fans want.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Anyway.
Well, cool.
So what would you like to talk about today, Cheri? Or would you like me to go first?
I wanted to talk about emotional manipulation. So
okay.
We had a kid today talking about how some of his friends have been treating him.
Oh, yeah.
And how he really felt like, well, they're his friends. Like he can't not see them because then he won't have any friends. But some of the things they were saying to him were, you know, not very cool. And it just made me reflect on how I've been treated by people throughout my life. And so I found an article, I think it's like 15 signs that you're being emotionally manipulated. So 15 signs of emotional manipulation and what to do. All right.
And I wish I had that article years ago, because I can say I was in a situation, you know, in a past relationship that really wasn't good. And so I can really relate to that.
Right. You know, and sometimes emotional manipulation can be subtle or kind of hard to identify, but then you do get to a point where you can like, once you've really dealt with someone like that,
yeah,
you recognize what that feels like, even if you can't quite pinpoint what it is they're doing to you.
right.
You
Well, there's that whole bundle that goes together with that and gaslighting and narcissism.
right.
There's just a lot of things. I mean, remember a month or two, well, it was a couple months ago, back around Thanksgiving time, when I had that guy I was chatting with who blew up with me over text.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, I've had 20 years of training for this. I know not to engage. So good luck.
Right.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Right.
But
Right. So, you know, it's kind of things, doing this kind of thing is to kind of get control, you know, and the person's like not going to be like, oh, I got to control this person. But, you know, they'll have this inner need to do this kind of stuff.
right.
So, someone's sending me a message. Okay. So, if they maintain home court advantage, so like they, you know, they always want to be in their place or their ownership of a place.
Yeah.
Kind of puts you at a disadvantage. So if they say, walk over to my office, or you know how far of a drive it is for me, why don't you come over here?
Yeah.
That's
or
one.
Even as simple as, hey, come over here, I want to talk to you.
Right.
Like, even if you're in this, like, just taking control of it, like, because it's not always as big of a thing.
When I was a young hot chick and I used to go out to bars and stuff, there would be guys that would motion for me to come to them. And I'd be like, you know, you want to talk to me, you come over here.
Yeah.
So that was always a sign, like right away.
Right.
These kind of people get too close too quickly. You know, they might share their darkest secrets with you or make you feel really special so that you give up your secrets, and then they can use those things against you.
And that's a really good point, because our instinct is to feel like, oh, they're being vulnerable, so we're getting close.
Right. And, you know, they might say like, oh, I feel like we're really connecting on a deep level, or I've never had someone, you know, we're meant to be together and that kind of stuff. So that's setting that, like, that's setting you up for something.
Yeah.
They let you speak first, but that's so that they can ask probing questions so that they can manipulate what, you know. For example, so they say, oh, I've never heard about that. I've never heard good things about that company. What was your experience? To get you to say a bunch of shit about it. Or you're just going to have to explain to me again why you're mad at me.
Oh, yeah. Put it all on you.
They twist the facts, you know, exaggerate things to make them seem more vulnerable. They understate their role in a conflict to gain your sympathy. Like if they're always telling you some story about how somebody did them wrong, that's a little flag. You know, they'll say like, I asked a question about the project and she came at me yelling at me about how I never did anything to help her. Or I cried all night and didn't sleep a wink. They want to get you on their sympathy side.
Yeah. And it's hard because there's always two sides to any story, and whether or not one person was right or wrong, or they just perceived it wrong from each side, that can be the case, where sometimes both people aren't necessarily doing anything wrong, but the perception and the communication breakdown becomes the thing.
Right.
But if you're not willing to have a conversation with people when you're sharing it and say, you know, I might have approached this wrong. This is kind of what happened. I can see where I did this, but now I got to figure out how to handle that.
Yeah.
Much different deal.
They engage in intellectual bullying. So they say, you know, they're the expert. So they'll say stuff like, well, you're new to this, so I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Oh.
I know this is a lot for you, so let me tell you again slowly.
Kind of condescending too.
Yeah. Then there's also bureaucratic bullying. If say you ask questions that kind of bring their flaws to the surface, You know, they'll say, oh, this will be way too difficult for you. I'd just stop now and save yourself the effort.
Wow.
They make you feel sorry for voicing your concerns. This is a common one. I don't understand why you don't just trust me. You know, I have anxiety. I can't help it if I want to know where you are all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes it back about them.
Yeah.
In a way that's like, why are you? It's weird because it's like you voice your concern, but then they're saying, like, you're the one being rude to them because you're concerned about how they're treating you.
Right.
Which is totally that gaslighting situation.
Well, I've known people like this throughout my life. So this really, like, in my head, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of so-and-so, you know. They diminish your problems and play up their own. Okay, so, oh, you think that's bad? Well, you don't have to deal with a cube mate who talks on the phone all day, or be thankful you have a brother. I felt alone all my life.
Yeah.
One-upping. Or one downing, I guess, because they're trying to say theirs is worse. They act like a martyr. Oh, I know you need, this is a lot. I'm already overwhelmed. This is harder than it looks. I don't think you knew what you're asking of me. They're always just joking when they say something rude or mean. That's a common abusive thing.
I think it's twofold. One is to watch who we're bringing into our lives and what conversations we're allowing to continue, because we're always going to have conversations start, or we're going to have people that we get to know, but then how do we, one is to like make sure that we're not continually engaging in the conversation when it's a situation where we're putting ourselves in this place that we are now stuck with that type of personality. And then the other half is to be aware of how we're treating people. And maybe we're not that extreme that we're checking off all 15 of these boxes, but maybe there's one or two where I'm like, I might have said that. I might have said I was joking sometimes when I was a little mean to somebody, or I might have done this. So I need to make sure that that doesn't become a trait that becomes
right. Yeah, well, I like a couple of these things. I've done that before, you know.
Yeah, me too. As you're reading, I'm going, no, please, like, hope no one I know is watching me, because I've done that. But it's always just, you know, we're on a journey to be better people, so we learn as we go, but then we also have to make sure we keep quality in our lives.
Right. They don't take accountability, so they'll never take responsibility for their errors, but they'll find a way to try to make you feel guilty about it, and you may end up apologizing even if they're the one at fault. Like, I only did it because I love you so much. You know, if you hadn't gone to your kids' awards program, you could have finished the project the right way.
You know, I don't want to say this is like super triggering for me, because I hate using that word. I think that's a little overused, but there's a lot of stuff in this that I used to let into my life, whether it was in relationships with friends or significant other, or even bosses, where I got into a lot of situations where people treated me like shit and I didn't demand respect. And it's because I didn't value myself enough to bring that expectation into my life. And I just, as you're saying some of these, it's kind of like, I instantly can go into like an instant memory where I feel that feeling from certain conversations I've had over the years.
Right. Well, sometimes people can insert themselves in your life, and then you start noticing these things, and it's like, oh my God, how do I get this person out of my life?
Yeah, how do I backpedal out of this situation? That's fair.
They always one-up you. When you're elated, they find a reason to take the spotlight away from you.
Yeah.
So whether in a positive or negative sense, for example, oh, your pay increase is great, but did you see so-and-so got a full promotion? Or I'm sorry your grandfather passed. I lost both of my grandparents. I lost both of my grandparents in 2 weeks. So at least it's not that bad. I hate that.
Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard because we want to share how we can relate to people, but we have to be aware of how it can come across on the other side.
Right. I know a lot of times people use their story that's similar, thinking that they're relating with people, but I know I've done it a lot, and I think we've all done it a lot of times, but we also need to recognize that doesn't help the other person. That just means you've turned the conversation around to talk about yourself, basically.
Right. It's interesting to see with social media now where, I mean, we've talked about this, where we've seen this happen on Facebook posts where someone posts either something good or bad that's happened in their life, and someone in the comments kind of takes over the thread of like, oh, well, what about mine? And that's interesting because you see it in a slowed down time in front of everybody and in writing. And it's like, did you see what you did there? And the person might not even really have consciously done that, and it's a good lesson for them to be aware. But sometimes it spirals, but it is kind of, it's like, oh, I have to be very aware of how I'm interacting and commenting.
I have one person that never comments on my page unless I say I'm going to Vegas in so many days. And then it's always like, well, it's how many days they're going to Vegas, which is fine. That's great. It's a way to relate. But can you say, oh, I hope you have fun, and then share yours? Like,
right. Yeah.
I don't know. I just called somebody out because now everybody's going to notice.
That's okay, because this isn't about Vegas, so they won't watch this post.
That's true. They use your insecurities against you.
Yeah.
They use your weak spots to wound you. Like, oh, you said you'd never want your kids to grow up in a broke-owned home. Look what you're doing to them now. And this is a tough audience. I'd be nervous if I was you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They use your feelings against you, trying to make you feel guilty. If you really love me, you'd never question me, or, oh, I couldn't take that job. I wouldn't want to be away from my kids so much. Guilt trips and ultimatums. If you leave me, I don't deserve to live. If you can't be here this weekend, I think it shows your level of dedication.
Wow.
Ugh.
I've had that situation where there's this, if you don't do this, then that means this in my life. And it is, I dealt with that a lot, and I was like, okay, then I guess I need to do this. Whereas now I'm just like, it's unfortunate that I've had to be very careful about not saying I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry this, because that's not my thing to make them
right
about. So I try to be, it's unfortunate that's your perception of the situation coming from, and I don't value that the same way that you do. And so it's much easier being single in that regard, because I'm not in a relationship with someone where I'm trying to make sure and keep it and salvage it and be, okay, now I've got to be very aware of, I can't, now I can say, well, you know what, we're different enough, let's not go any further. Whereas if I was in a relationship that we had gone to a certain place and cared enough, then it's like, okay, well, now we have to decide if we're going to work through this and adjust, or are we going to say, I think this is as far as we can go.
Right. My stomach is growling all of a sudden. The other thing is they can be passive aggressive. They can use people around you to communicate with you or talk behind your back.
Yeah.
I talk about this, but I know you're busy, or I thought it was better if you heard it from someone else, not me, since we're so close.
Well, and it might mention this, but this kind of falls into that. But in some of those toxic personality behaviors, a big thing is them rallying support from everybody else about, whatever they think is right.
Right.
I'm going to get everybody on my side before I approach this, or while I get the story. So they haven't even talked to me, but they've talked to everybody else.
Yeah, well, so everybody else says that you're this or that,
Yeah, I had a conversation one time, and someone said that to me, and I said, well, where did they get all of that side of the story? Was that because they didn't get that from me? So that means that they only heard one side of the story.
Right.
So everybody else is in agreement with the version of the story that you're telling them, is what you're saying.
Right. Well, you said earlier, 2 sides to a story, but there really are 3 sides.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. They give you the silent treatment. They use the silence to gain control and make you feel responsible. Here's the thing about the silent treatment. You may think of it like, one person may think, oh, they're giving me the silent treatment. And the other person might just be like, I don't need this drama in my life. I'm not talking to you anymore. You know, I have seen people like, in dating situations, they're like, well, I just need him to answer me. Like, I just need you to answer me. I need closure. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You can't demand someone to answer you.
Yeah, that's true.
You just can't do it. They say or do something and later deny it. I never said that. You're imagining things. There's the gaslighting, right?
Yeah.
They're always too calm, especially in times of crisis. You saw that everyone else was calm. You just got too upset. I didn't want to say anything. You seem so out of control. Now, I will say that I have learned this does work for me.
Mm-hmm.
I do use this one because I have a husband who gets upset easily. So the more easily he gets upset, the more I can be calm. And no matter how wrong I am, he looks like the asshole. It's true. I have used this. I have.
Well,
so I apologize to my husband, but you know.
Well, and also there's that leveling up of engagement. So if someone is anxious or their nerves are ramped up a little bit, and you kind of feed into it, then you kind of just keep upping the level of energy each time.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of stepping back and thinking, okay, I can later discuss what's wrong. It doesn't mean that we won't ever go down that road, but right now it's not going to be received very well. So there is kind of that that balance of when that's the right thing to do versus when it's a control. Because if you're doing it to control, that's a much different thing.
Right. And then they can also leave you questioning your own sanity. Or everyone knows that's not how this works. Or I wasn't late. You just forgot what time I said I'd be there.
Or flat out. And that was the same thing with that psycho guy. There were things where he's like, well, you did this too. And I'm like, I told you I was sending you a picture from me 2 years ago saying, look at this funny picture I took 2 years ago. Not, hey, I was just thinking about you in the car. Here I am, you know?
Right.
Ago.
So the ways that you can do this, you can apologize for your part, but then move on. Now, you're probably not going to get an apology, but you don't need to dwell on that. Just say whatever you did that was wrong and then be done.
Yeah.
Don't try to beat them, because two people playing this game is not going to be fun. And then set some boundaries. When they realize that they're losing control, they may get more desperate, and that's the time for you to make some difficult decisions. You don't have to be near, if you don't have to be near that person, you can just cut them off. Sometimes you still have to be near them because of work, or you know, you live with
in
them.
The same circles. You might be family, whatever. Yeah. No, that's a good point to think about. Like, how do you then move forward? Because a lot of times I think people they try to apologize, but I think the one mistake we make a lot of times is we'll apologize for our part, and when that's not accepted or it's not good enough, we keep trying to be in it, and that's where it's like, that's never going to get us anywhere. We just need to say, yeah, I'm sorry, end of discussion.
Yeah, period. Yeah, right. So yeah, nobody needs to put up with this kind of. So, and if you are dealing with this in your life, I mean, it might be good to talk to a therapist or talk to somebody about it. So, well,
and I hope that kid, you know, finds that, because that's that blackmailing of, well, or even if they haven't come out and said it, it's that threat of, well, if I stand up to my friends, then I'm not going to be friends. But you don't really have good friends anyway.
If they're treating you like that, they're not.
Not true friends. And it's so hard to see when you don't have other people that you feel like have your back. So it's a lonely place to be. I hope that he gets some, or he or she, I can't remember, but they get some good support.
Yeah, so that's all I had. I just want to get that out there. And don't mind me, but I am going to eat some crackers while you're talking, because my stomach is like madly growling. All
right. Well, I'm going to talk then while you eat your crackers. Just don't chew too loud, because I don't want people to not be able to hear what I'm saying. Oh god, it's saltines. Don't choke on saltines. If you laugh when you're eating a saltine, that's like the most crumbly cracker. It's so easy to inhale.
Get caught. I know. Well, thanks for setting me up like that. Now it's going to happen. Go ahead, Bill.
Now I'm going to feel bad. It's like Dave, Cheri needs a Heimlich. Go ahead. Anyway, I want to talk about just going back to basics a little bit and really sharpening kind of your craft or your skills, whatever it is that you're working on. And for me, I've been doing comedy for 6 years now, and the last year I slowed down on comedy. I never stopped. I just wasn't doing it as much. And so I've really been challenging myself to go to more open mics, and I started recording my sets more again, and just kind of working on some stuff. But I had this whole, set of jokes that were all really well rehearsed that I've used the last couple of years, and I've sprinkled things in, and I've continued to develop it. But I've really challenged myself to have a new joke a week every time I go to an open mic the last 3 or 4 months.
Right.
But I hadn't been listening to the sets as much, and I was making notes on this and that, and I decided to just post a couple of short clips inspired by watching, your clip that you posted from the Love 'Em or Leave 'Em show. And I was like, I need to just grab one of the things from the show and just post one of the jokes. So I challenged myself to do that, because even though the audio, I didn't have a set that I felt like, oh, this is a great quality set in the recording that I would want to use. There are jokes that work in there, because a lot of times, as comedians, you record your set and it doesn't always capture the laughter, or maybe it's not the best angle, so it's hard to get that. But as I was listening to it, I heard a couple laughs in places where I didn't realize there was a laugh, and I thought, oh, I need to slow down there, because that joke could be strung out a little bit. Or maybe if I pause while they're laughing and make some facial gestures, kind of think about it for a second. Then I also noticed there are some times where I have some crutch words that I've used a little bit. Like I'll say the word yeah this, yeah that, or it's true story. And you can only say that so many times before people are like, we get it,
Yeah.
But I kind of remembered when I first started doing comedy, I would leave every open mic and I would get in my car and I would play the audio and I would count the laughs per minute to kind of gauge how I did. It's like, oh, I got this number of laughs, or this number. And I would find spots where it's like, oh, I'm talking too fast here. I need to slow down because they're starting to laugh and I keep telling the joke. Or I would notice, oh, you know what? I'm saying some extra words. Like I have that joke about dating a younger guy and, calling him a snack and whatever. Well, I noticed I'm saying too many words at the beginning of the joke. And I could find that on paper if I wrote it out and just be like, oh, cut this out. But when I listen to it, it's so obvious that it doesn't matter that I said I tried it for a bit and that it was a little while ago or whatever. I could just say, I went out with a younger guy. And I think what I said was, I tried going out with a younger guy not too long ago. Like, all that stuff doesn't matter to the joke.
Right.
I went out with a younger guy. I started calling him a snack. And that's where I noticed people were laughing, which I didn't really plan for a laugh there. So I could pause. Nom, 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 whatever, throw something in there, and then go on to the rest of the joke. But it just reminds me that no matter how far you get in what you're doing, there's value in going back to how you started and how you really studied and practiced. Because now I can take the skills I've developed the last 6 years, go back to that grinding of the very basic, how to be funny and how to craft your jokes, and take that to the next level.
Right. I know. I think I've talked to you lately about, I've always been very rehearsed. Like I say my jokes the exact same way because I wrote them in a specific way for a specific reason.
Right.
But then, I found myself appearing maybe too rehearsed. So then it was my goal to be a little more relaxed. And so I've really been working on that. Well, now I've gotten so relaxed that I'm too relaxed. So now I'm trying to find a happy medium, and I need to go back to the middle.
Right.
Where I'm a little more professional and rehearsed, but not so rigid about it. So
yeah, I like the idea. And I've done this a couple times where I have some jokes. I've used this more for when I'm doing a speech or motivational speaking, where I'm very loose with telling the story, but I have a very rehearsed point that I'm making. So I don't try to memorize word for word the story, but when it comes to the point, I can say, this is the point I'm making, this is the way I want to deliver it, and this part I have memorized, so I never vary from how I get my point across. And with comedy, I can do that a little bit with punchlines, where I can tell the setup and I can mess around with that, but the punchline is always the same order and precise. But but you know, it's trickier with comedy because the timing does have to be so much more planned out. You can't.
Right.
So that's kind of my lesson this week, is just getting back to that main thing. And I actually have been thinking about doing that even with my website and my YouTube channel. There's a lot of areas that I studied doing and watched so many things over and over again on how to be good at what I was getting into. And then I went down the path, and now I need to come back and think, okay, there's some basic lessons I need to come back and implement on all of those things.
Right.
So,
well,
so that's that.
That's a fun thing, though. I mean, about comedy, I don't know about other jobs if it's really fun, you know, as much fun to just like figure out, well, maybe it is like at my other job, figuring out the best way to approach like difficult students or whatever. But
yeah, I think it is, because even like with this student you were talking about earlier, it's like now you've researched some things and you're like, you know what? Here's some things I can bring back and help that kid even more. And that's going to feel good, because you're going to feel like you're even bigger resource than you already are in that kid's life.
Yeah. You know what I've really noticed is that kids' interpersonal skills are really poor right now, you know, with the pandemic and everything. And just with the
everything being online.
People don't talk to you. The kids don't talk. They don't know how to carry on a conversation anymore.
They don't talk. They TikTok.
So yeah, so I'm like really trying to work on, I don't know how to teach them to gain some of those skills are important, because they don't really see the value in that, I guess. I don't know.
It's tricky, I think, and that's kind of a good point, because I think that there is value in them experiencing it enough to where they then find the value when they see what they can get out of it and how fulfilling it can be. But we've got to get them into those situations where they go, oh wow, you know, I didn't realize this is why this was important, or why. And there's an importance to getting out of your comfort zone enough to experience it, because that's a whole thing. So
we have some comments.
Excellent.
On our page from Cheri Benner, that she
hi Cheri.
She has a family member that emotionally manipulates her. She's trying to become stronger, but it's not easy. Definitely a work in progress. Yeah. And that there are some things that she's guilty of and never thought of it as a negative. She said I called her out on that. Yeah, I have a tendency to do that kind of thing. But
that's also, when you have a solid friendship, you can do that and be like, hey, we have enough of a base that I can share this with you if it's healthy and it can be received.
And Cheri says she loves it when a certain person gives her the silent treatment, because it gives her a little break. So
sometimes that's nice. Yeah. Yep.
Well,
yeah. Well, thank you, Cheri, for sharing and for opening up.
Yeah.
And easy to share stuff about what's going on in your life, but
it's unfortunate that we don't often see the comments in real time.
Yes, we're
to be able to bring someone in on the conversation while we're doing it. You know, we might want to
upgrade something there.
I'm totally on a different thing, but I don't know if we can do that, but we might want to have somebody on who is TikTok famous, teach us what they've learned about how to become TikTok famous.
That could be fun, because I'm preparing for the fame and I'm not sure, you know, what I don't know yet, you know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Do I need security? Do I, you know, like, do I need a financial manager for my TikTok funds, or however you use funds? Like, these are, and a booking agent for my schedule. Like, I need to know these things, because I got like.
I think we also need to do more TikToks together. Yes. But how do you do that? Like,
we need a TikTok intern who calls around and like, boom, boom, boom. Oh, like you can have multiple TikToks.
I mean, because I could create and we could duet, but just to have like where you and I go out and do one together, like whose account do we post it on? You know what I mean? Like,
we could create a separate account, or we could just take turns, or we could, you know, we'll figure that out. It'll be fun.
But I like that. I like learning new things, new skills.
Yeah, and I have to say, thank God for the people in my life that are in different places in their life, because right now I would not have figured out any of these TikTok things if I didn't know some young people, particularly Emily Otter. Like, she's like, well, just
guru.
She's like, well, you could do this. I'm like, well, how do I do that? She's like, well, you might have to Google how to screen record on your phone, because I'm sure you can. I was like, okay. But just the mentality of what some of the options are that I don't think about being an option to do, then I can go learn how to do it, even if I'm learning on my own how to do that thing. But just the conversation about, well, why don't you try this or try that? I'm like, oh, I can do that. So
it's exciting. It's good. You'll have to probably, I'm sure you can teach me stuff now, because I don't get that technically creative on my.
Yeah, we'll play around with it. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some TikToks. I have TikTok ideas for us. I'm like all day long. It's like, oh, this is an idea, and that's an idea, and I'm this, that, and I don't know.
Excuse me.
I'm gonna go hungry making TikTok videos and not making income to pay rent.
Yeah. You might want to schedule your TikTok time in and leave it.
I'm going to start doing that. I'm giving myself a good 2 weeks of the talking and the ticking before I ramp it in.
And the ticking and the talking.
The ticking and the talking.
Oh, that's fun. My stomach is like loudly complaining.
Oh, saltines didn't quite do it.
Not
Well,
quite.
I have to go win a trip to Ireland in a little bit, so I'm going to get my.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Well, I got to go get pretty for my show in person.
Well, enjoy it. Good luck tonight. Knock 'em dead. Break a leg. What is the right term for comedy, by the way? Because I know, like, you're not supposed to say good luck to theater.
Yeah, I think it's break a leg
for comedy. Okay.
I'm hoping for a good video, either tonight or this weekend. A good submission video. I have some producers I want to submit to in some festivals, and I need a better video. So cross your fingers for me that I'm going to get it.
All right. So
I can't cross my fingers. So is that a defect, or is it because my fingers are too fat? It won't. I can't do it.
Some people, yeah, because there are things that genetically you just can't do. Like, I have this weird thumb that does this, like.
Really? I can't go 3 like that. I have to go 3 like that.
And also, I can do how do you do the live long and prosper?
I can do that.
Nice.
The vagina. All right. All right. Love you.